As we begin the forum for the commissioners' seat, we're gonna use the similar format. I don't know if everybody was here and heard the process, so I'll go over it really quick, and I'll try to do a better job this time. We'd like each candidate to give an opening statement, if you would. Try to hold it to a minute. Just expressing why you're running for office and very quickly what your qualifications are. We'll pass the mic. We'll start right here and we'll go down. If you'll introduce yourselves and why you're running and what your qualifications are, and then I'll follow up with a series of questions similar to the ones that you heard in the earlier forum. Then there will be an opportunity for you to ask one question to any candidate that you would like to ask, and that candidate will respond, and then you'll have a chance to respond if you so desire. And if you don't have a question for another candidate, that's okay. And then we will have an opportunity as they're speaking, if you have a question that you would like to ask and you haven't heard it stated earlier, then we'll save a few minutes at the end of the evening for you to give your written question to Jeff, and then we'll make sure that these folks get a chance to answer it. And then there will be a 60-second closing comment to wrap up the evening. So we'll start right here. Thank you.
My name is Keith Lowe. I've lived in Timberlake for about 11 years. Previously, I lived in Lakewood for about 2 or 3 years. I grew up in East Belmont, down near the Middle Village. I worked as a police officer in Belmont for about 10 years. The last part of the time I was in water and wastewater. I have a certification in North Carolina surface water and sewage, a grade 2 in sewage. I've worked for private contractors and for municipalities in that. And I feel like that gives me experience because I can see the losses that are the waste sometime. On the whole, I think Cramerton is, compared to other towns here, is a well-run town, a great place to live. I have a few ideas I would like to throw out, maybe it's changing a few things, but on the whole, I think it's a well-run town, great place to live, and like I said, I've lived in Timberlake for about 11 years. My wife just retired back in March, 29 years with the school system. She's going to work part-time up at Cramerton, filling in ladies retired, and she's going to help them out a little bit. But my 91-year-old mother lives with us, and I have a sister who's had a stroke. Her husband died about 2 months ago from Florida, and I've had to take my sister in. I also have 2 children. One's a student at St. Andrews in Laurinburg, and another one that just graduated from App. Thank you, buddy.
Hello, neighbors. I'm Rick Hauser. I'm married to Lisa Capulet Hauser for the last 29 years, and we have 3 daughters. Our oldest daughter, Jessica King, is married. She has an MBA from UNC Greensboro. Just learned recently we're going to be grandparents for the first time in April. We've got a second child, Katie, who's a junior at Appalachian State University, and she's pursuing a master's in accounting. And then our third child, Christiana, is a senior at South Point High School, and she's just busy all the time. I'm a third-generation banker for almost 30 years, currently serving as a senior vice president at Alliance Bank and Trust in downtown Gastonia. My philosophy for banking is pretty simple. It's banking is people dealing with people. Take a lot of pride in helping people accomplish their goals. I've served as a treasurer at the Gaston Regional Chamber for many years, and I'm currently the chair-elect for 2014. I'm following other Cramerton residents, Regina Moody and our own Tim Goss, who served in that capacity, and I've learned a lot of good things about their leadership styles. 100 years ago today, my great-grandmother's relative formed the Chamber of Commerce in 1913. I'm a fellow, Paul Harris Fellow, and member of the Gastonia East Rotary Club. I serve on the Finance Council at Queen of the Apostles Catholic Church in Belmont, where my family attends. I've served on the advisory board for the Cramer Mountain Country Club, past president of the Cramer Mountain Men's Golf Association, and I'm presently completing my service as a director of the Cramer Mountain Homeowners Association. My decision to run for Cramerton Commission is influenced by my work with the Gaston Regional Chamber and working with public officials at all levels, the City of Gastonia, the county, and even our state delegation. I constantly hear there's a need for strong leaders. Well, I believe I am a strong leader, and I have the necessary skills and experience to help out a little bit, my neighbors, my neighbors.
Good evening, I'm Demetrios Koutsoupias. I'm the son of Greek immigrants that came to the United States in search of the American dream. Of course, they found that dream here and have continued to live that dream right here in Cramerton. Through them and through my family, I've learned the importance of working hard, earning an honest living, and serving others. I've served others by being on the Planning and Zoning Board for the past 4 years. Also am a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and chairing that board currently for the past 2 years. We worked on a lot of these projects that you have seen. The new school, for example, the projects that are working now, Cramerton Mills, Villages of South Fork. And I'm running for commissioner because I want to see those projects completed. I want to see it, Cramerton, to continue to grow and provide great services to all of you. I'm also have coached through the Parks and Rec Department for the past 7 seasons, mentoring our youth, teaching them responsibility, discipline, respect, learning how to be a team player and working together as a team. All of those qualities I can bring to the Board of Commissioners. And in the end, I'm here because I'm supporting this school, I've worked with this school, and actually on the booster club of this school, and I think our town can continue to support this school, and I think we really have a bright future ahead of us.
Hey, my name is Jamie Burr, and I'm running for Cramerton Town Commissioner. A little bit about my life. I was raised by my mother and my father, both who worked in mills. I am the 5th generation on my grandfather's side and the 4th generation on my grandmother's side to have lived and worked in Cramerton. After graduating from high school, I attended a military college in South Carolina, but due to some financial reasons and the death of my father 2 weeks before I graduated high school, I had to come back home and work during the day and attend school at nights. I attended Gaston College and received a law enforcement certification. I worked as a police officer here in Cramerton for about 2 years full-time and continued to work as a reserve officer. I am now a reserve sheriff's deputy here in Gaston County. I now have a small heating and air business, and I also work in public safety for Caramount Health. I am a volunteer for Meals on Wheels that delivers meals to our senior citizens here in Cramerton. I was also a volunteer fireman at the Volunteer Fire Department here in Cramerton, and also I was a volunteer at South Point Rescue. My vision for Cramerton is a more transparent government, a more accountable government, to reduce some spending, to support all of our local businesses, not just some, all of them, to give our citizens a voice. I also want to preserve the quality of life for our children and our children's children. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. I'm Will Calton, and I am so encouraged as I look around this room to see how many folks are here tonight. If y'all haven't looked behind you in a while, look and see how full this room is. It is absolutely stunning to see this many folks out on a night when the weather's not that great, and I'm sure there's other things you'd rather be doing. The reason I'm here is I've been proud to serve you for the last 4 years. I'm the only person at this table that has a track record. Believe me, that can be good or bad. But I want you to judge me on that track record that I've got. From my experience, I've been in professional consulting for the last 17 years now, showing my age, and the majority of that has been engaging with municipalities, counties, and utility agencies in the Southeast. My bachelor's degree is in criminal justice, my master's is in business administration, and I currently represent you at Central Carolina Council of Governments in the Metro Atlanta area, which accounts for 73 different municipalities. I'm on the executive board there representing you as well. This is not something we do for the pay. This is not something we do for the increase of friendships, because when you serve, you have to make hard decisions. And that doesn't always win you friends. But we do it because it's important, and I ask for your vote because I feel like I'm the best ready to serve. Thank you so much.
My name is Thurman Linker. I'm a 22-year resident of Cramerton. My wife is a certified case manager here in Cramerton and works for U.S. Air. My daughter finished at South Point and then went through NC State and now is a marketing manager for Wells Fargo. I graduated from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Keenan Flagler School of Business. Up until a few years ago, I was regional manager, marketing manager of different companies, and now I'm the part owner of a manufacturer's rep firm out of Atlanta. We sell food service packaging. I think with my background in marketing and sales and accounting, I can bring a lot to the commission. I keep hearing the word investment. Investment, that seems like spending. And I've heard about all the money saved here in Cramerton, and I look at the paperwork and I can't find it, folks. I've estimated that the town is committed to spend, has spent or committed to spend about $5.6 million the last 2.5 years. So that's one of the reasons I'm running. I want to bring financial responsibility to Cramerton. I don't want my daughter and other young kids saddled with the debt just like our national government has, like our state government has, and we need to start at a grassroots movement to stop excessive spending. I appreciate your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Okay, Thurman, if you would, take the first question.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. You heard the earlier question about what you think the top 2 or 3 issues are facing Cramerton. So if you would, if each of you would take, again, do this as fast as you can. I like to be for this to be a sort of a rapid fire response, and respond to what you think the top 2 or 3 issues are facing Cramerton in about 60 seconds or so.
Thank you. I know some of the reasons why I'm running are, I think, a lack of transparency in government. I would like to reduce waste and spending. I'd like to make sure that the services in Cramerton apply to all citizens equally. After a complete evaluation of our current spending, I think definitely a tax reduction of 2 to 3 cents is warranted. I think one thing people don't remember is that we were charged a water sewer availability fee for 3 years at $10 a month. So if your water bill didn't drop more than $10 a month, you got no savings after we turned the water over to Two Rivers. At the same time, over $200,000 of this $400,000 savings is strictly the water sewer availability fee. But I want to be transparent to the people. If we spend something, we spend it. If we save it, we save it. And I personally would like to have different committees in the community on major issues to come together and tell us what they'd like done, rather than 3 commissioners making the total decision along with the city manager. Thank you.
Pass the time.
I'll try to keep this quick. I think if we look at just the top two issues, growth is coming whether we like it or not. We need to be prepared, and we have spent a great deal of time and effort in preparing for that growth, making sure it's high quality and it's bringing jobs, retail, and quality industry to our town. That has to be our focus. The other big thing that's going to come up here in the next year, and something that's going to greatly affect the quality of life, especially for those folks who enjoy recreation in the outdoors, is that second bridge from Town Center to Goat Island. So, in closing, let's build a bridge.
My first would be quality of life. Granted, Cramerton is growing. It's growing at leaps and bounds. But to what extent are we growing and our quality of life is going down? If we keep building and keep building and keep building, we're going to be Charlotte in 20 years. So I think we need to start preserving our quality of life a little bit. I'm not against growth and progress, but I think it needs to be at a little bit slower rate than what we're going at right now. My next would be the support of our local businesses. I spoke to a business owner the other day at a car show, and a former business owner here in town, and I asked him, I said, why did you leave? And he said, Cramerton's not like it used to be. And I said, well, explain to me, because Cramerton's a great town, don't get me wrong. He said, I realized that our town did not support our local businesses. He said it was at a point to where we had other businesses coming in that our town was supporting instead of supporting me. I was here years and years. They had the farmer's market, and they asked the flower shop to come in and sell flowers at the farmer's market instead of asking him to come over there and sell. And I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that's why he decided to leave.
I'd have to say my top two. Number one, maximizing our resources. That means looking into private grants, private funding, public grants. Maximizing our resources so we can complete Goat Island. Maximizing our resources so that we can continue to connect all of our neighborhoods and continue to make one large community and one large Cramerton. And it's not going to be just Timberlake or Lakewood or the Mountain. It's all of us. We're all Cramerton. We all want to see Cramerton be successful. We all want to be positive. And number two, infrastructure. We see that in a lot of the developments we have coming in. Again, South Fork Village, Cramerton Mills. Growth is going to come, and we have to be smart about it. We have to be responsible. And I think that's why we have these committees in place. Again, I've served on two of them. And it's not just the commissioners that are on board. It is the advisory boards that are out there. It's people like you that are serving on these advisory boards. You're taking your time, you're volunteering your time, you're there to recommend to the Board of Commissioners, and we need to continue that. Public input is going to be huge with all these projects. We want to see you at those advisory board meetings, and we want to see you at the Board of Commissioners meetings.
I think the top two issues that I have are very similar to some of the other comments. I think Goat Island, we need to go ahead and finish that bridge. We make a promise to our citizens, we need to fulfill that. I'd like to be involved with trying to make it timely, financially responsible. I think the Goat Island demonstrates our town's progressive nature, and I believe it'll provide both recreational and economic development for us on down the road. I think in the next 5 years, our town is ready to double in size. And I'd like to take advantage of our biggest resource, and that's the muddy rivers of the South Fork River. The Carolina Thread Trail that's linking Goat Island to Wilkinson Boulevard will open up opportunities that many of us have not ever seen before. So I'm very excited to be part of that growth. People will choose Cramerton.
My opinion on probably the two biggest thing, I think is the town needs to maintain the lowest possible tax rate it can. That helps everybody across the board. And I think providing emergency services and the other, like garbage pickup, that's basically what a town is for, services for the community. And I think a lot of times when we get out of that, the reason the town is formed, that's when some problems start. But if we will just make sure that the tax rate is kept low and the services are the best for our money, I think it'll work out.
Thank you. And thanks for being pretty quick. That was good. How do you envision the town of Cramerton in 20 years? Several of you talked about the growth that's coming and the imminent population boom that's occurring in the Charlotte region. So what's your vision for Cramerton over the next 20 years?
If I just had to, my vision of what it's going to probably be is, we'll be the bedroom community of Charlotte. Our proximity to the airport is going to make it an ideal place for people to live. On the other hand, I'm worried. My wife's from the Atlanta area, and we go through there, I see some of their little bedroom communities. The traffic is awful, and I think we're getting a little bite of it when they closed the bridge and everybody was having to use the Cramerton crossroads. And whatever we could do to maybe prevent that from happening here, make it a bedroom community if we have to, but that we don't have some of the problems that other bedroom communities have faced.
My vision for Cramerton is filled with pride. We're a progressive town, rich in heritage, steeped in innovation, and a hard-working, caring people. We set the standard for other municipalities in our county through consolidating basic services. We need to work hard to diversify our tax base, lower our overall tax rate to make us competitive, and people will choose Cramerton. I believe that in the next 20 years there will be a garden parkway, and through the work of the Gaston County Economic Development Commission, they commissioned a study at UNC Charlotte. Dr. Kavanaugh said Garden Parkway could generate as many as 28,000 jobs for our county. And if you listen to our own Cramerton resident, Dwayne McAllister, he says that's close to the number of textile-related jobs that we lost. So it's with that forward-looking 20 years, I want to try to make Cramerton the kind of place that our children will want to come back to live, work, and play after they finish college.
I envision Cramerton with a complete Carolina Thread Trail. The Carolina Thread Trail connects 15 counties, 2.3 million people, over 93 miles of trails, 3 miles right here in Cramerton. I envision Cramerton with probably an increase of at least 50%. We've seen in the past 13 years, the growth of Cramerton has been about 42%. I envision Cramerton a place that people want to live, moving from Charlotte or Gastonia. I envision Cramerton a place where we can invest in our youth and our seniors and every resident of this town. And we need to continue to do that so that we can decrease the tax burden on you, the taxpayer, by increasing our tax base.
In 20 years, I see us growing, probably doubling or tripling our size. Hopefully the tax rate will go down. Hopefully we'll have more businesses in Cramerton. We've got the Eagle Mill finishing plant that's vacant now. Hopefully that will have some type of big business in it. The only thing that I don't want to happen is for us to lose our identity, our small town identity. And I say small town, I don't mean it in the way some people are going to take, but I don't want to lose our sense of community, where we know our neighbors and where we can rely on our neighbors. So in 20 years, yes, we're going to grow. Like I say, double to maybe triple the size. But let's not lose our identity in that 20 years.
In 20 years, the projections show the Charlotte metro area growing in population by 50%. But Gaston County has long been neglected by developers. They now realize that Gaston County is the best place left to develop. And when they look at Gaston County, they look at selected cities for that. And Cramerton is falling at the top of the list every time now because of the quality of life we present. So we do need to be prepared for that population growth. But I think, again, with the hard work that the committees and our staff has already done on land use planning and economic development, the path going forward is a bright one. If we look at the mixed-use communities, I heard a candidate say earlier they're not in favor of mixed-use communities, and some folks may not be familiar with the concept of what a mixed-use community is. It means a community where you can live, you can work, you can play, and you can congregate all in the same community. That sounds an awful lot like a new term for Mill Village, because in Cramerton, that's exactly how it used to be. And we're going to have more and more of those opportunities for that type of quality of living.
Thin line between reality and optimism in some cases. I like Cramerton. It reminds me of the hometown I grew up in, Brownville, over in Concord, North Carolina. Sat on the front steps or rocked in the swing, really enjoyed it. You could leave your doors unlocked. You didn't worry about a thing. And of course, the lucky thing was ignorance is bliss. We didn't know what we didn't have, so we were pretty happy. Now, all we hear is progress, development, job creation. How many people have lived in a major metropolitan city in the room? Like Atlanta? Okay. What you really get with too much progress is congestion, pollution, increased crime, increased taxes. Government does not really create jobs, and the government needs to get out of the way and let the private sector create the jobs. I think, we've got a lot of things going here in Cramerton, but we need to take a breath. We need to step back. We've spent a lot of money the last 2.5 years. You can call it an investment, you can call it spending, you can call it whatever you want to, but we need more planning. We don't need to pay too much for this supposed development, and we don't need to listen to these people prognosticating about growth. The guy over in Charlotte hasn't been within 20% of a projection in 5 years. He was the one that projected 800,000 at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. They did 200,000. So somebody saying something's going to bring so many jobs, I really don't believe it. I think we have to get back to reality, slow, steady growth, financial responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, great responses. Want to sort of follow that line of thought with another question about the economic development for Cramerton. And as we all know, we're primarily a residential community. So what would you do to diversify, or should we diversify, the economy of Cramerton? What would you do to increase our tax base and create jobs? And you can go in any direction you want to with this.
Number one, this is the type of question that would be more for an incumbent, since I've studied all these different incentives and everything, which I, as an independent businessman, have not studied. But I'm not for spending large quantities of money in investments. If we were given a tax incentive to grow the business, 100, 200,000, I could agree with. But if we're talking millions of dollars, I can't see it. If we're talking about a development that hasn't broken ground in 3 years, I have a real problem giving them very much until I see something in return. It's a little quid pro quo. If we're going to give tax incentives, we need to see something. And so far, we haven't seen anything. We're getting a lot of, I call it blustering or whatever. So I want to wisely spend the assets we have in Cramerton and also help all the people that we can and treat everyone fairly, but not be kowtowing down to a developer or to any particular realtor or anyone else in town. Thank you.
First off, part of the question was, do we need to diversify our tax base? And I absolutely feel like we do. Residential taxpayers are shouldering too much of the burden right now of operations. If we had industrial, if we have more commercial, they can share at a higher level in the cost of operation of the town. That is good for residential. Also, if we want jobs, guess what? That means something other than residential. When it comes to incentives, I've heard a lot of people say, why are we writing someone a check? Folks, we're not writing anybody a check. Mr. Linker just mentioned, why would we give them money before anything is built? There has never been on the table an offering where that was the plan. Any sort of incentives, and none have been considered or approved as of yet, come only after everything is built and once they are paying taxes into the system, and only a portion would be rebated as a reimbursement, and it would be for infrastructure alone. So we need to take it on a case-by-case basis. We need to be measured in our thought. But absolutely, I don't want to go knocking on your door and explain to you why I'm turning away developments of potentially 400 plus jobs, when that is exactly what this town could use right now.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe Cramerton is 95% residential. We have 5% business right now. Granted, we're going to grow. We're going to have some industries come in town. I don't believe in incentives. I don't believe in giving a new company coming into town an incentive in any way. Why didn't we give the incentive to the business owners here? I mean, we've got a couple of business owners in this room. Did they get any type of incentive? So now, I don't believe giving an incentive to a new business coming in town when we haven't taken care of our own businesses here now.
I'd say as far as economic development, we see a lot of projects that we're currently working on. Cramerton Mills, the projection there, I know Mr. Linker does not like projections, is 275 to 300 new jobs. We're going back to mixed use. Again, you can live there, you can work there, you can shop there, you can do everything there. That's something that we need here in Cramerton. Yes, there are a lot of residential housing, apartments. We need to diversify that. We need to offer cottage homes, townhomes, condos, apartments. Some seniors don't want to live in a full home and have all the maintenance and requirements in the yard. They want a townhome or a condo. We see that with some of the current residential homes we have now with Cramerton Oaks. We need to diversify and give people a choice. There's some people that are young couples. How are we going to bring them here? Well, we have the schools and the facilities and the amenities, but we need to find affordable options to them depending upon what their needs are with housing. And the other most important thing is, helping those businesses that are currently here so they can continue to be successful. The government, town government can reach out, have workshops, roundtable discussions, maybe open their eyes to new options or new benefits that they don't know of. The town government can help assist those businesses that are currently here and that are currently successful or maybe are having a tough time, so that they can stay here and continue to pay taxes and offer all these great places for you.
Thank you. I think the best incentive for jobs in our area is for us as neighbors to support one another. I know Kathleen's here. We ought to go eat over there. She's got her whole life invested in that. So if you want incentives for jobs locally as a town, I think the town people ought to support buy local, eat local, and promote local. My opinions on economic incentives are focused more on what can be done through Gaston County, through regional partnerships in the state. I support economic development efforts. The state legislature is fairly specific on what can be done to attract industry, and thankfully we have a new Commerce Secretary that's a native of Gaston County. I believe my role as Commissioner is to develop policies that support economic development, enables job creation, and make businesses want to locate here in our town. As Chair-elect of the Gaston Regional Chamber and a member of the Montcross Chamber of Commerce, I know how important it is to encourage and to maintain a business-friendly attitude among our government employees and public officials. As Commissioner, I'll take advantage of our property tax dollars that go to the county and call on the support of the County Commission and Donnie Hicks at the Gaston County Economic Development Commission when needed. We will focus our contract with the Montcross Chamber to establish a 5-year plan on commercial development needs, identify locations or corridors that can accommodate businesses, properly zone those locations so it'd be easier and less expensive for business owners to build and locate within our community. We need to be competitive.
As far as incentives, I believe the incentive should be sort of the town should maybe stay out of it. Provide the best utilities at the cheapest cost, the lowest tax base, the best schools that we can have for the new residents that's coming into town. And I think the jobs will come. If we do those three things, I think we could stay out of the way. I'm not really for incentives. I think Cramerton sort of had when they built the new sewage plant, and they built it bigger for one of the manufacturers, and then he pulls out, and then we're stuck. And a lot of times, some of these employers are not living up to the promises they've made to the communities that is provided the funds. So I think if we'd stay out of the way, do those three things, the jobs will come on their own.
You're going to get a question that the mayor candidates got earlier, but I'm going to change it just a little bit. Do you support municipal agreements that provide contracted services to or from other municipalities? To or from other municipalities?
Yes, I do. If you know anything about how the police departments work around here, Cramerton was always helping McCadwell anyway. At night, when they'd have somebody out sick, they were taking their calls. And now we're getting some economic funding for doing that, what we was doing already. Through municipal agreements, we were helping them anyway. So if it's reducing our police and fire costs by providing them service, which I think it's doing, I'm all for it. And like with private contractors, sometimes they can do it cheaper than a city can on garbage pickup and everything. And anything that saves our community money like that, I will be for it.
I think the short answer is yes, but in no way do I want my tax dollars going to provide police and fire in some other town. So I think whatever that agreement is, we need to be cognizant of it, review it carefully on a regular basis. I know our contracts are coming up for police here pretty soon, I think, Will. So that'd be the first thing we'll look at.
I would say yes, I am in favor of it. I think if you can tie in and bring together the resources and make them much more efficient and effective, I think it's a great idea. We see it with our police force, we see it with our fire department, and we also see it with the water department, with the two rivers. And you guys remember the flood just a few months ago. Some of the capital improvements that needed to be done would have been our bill, but that was Gastonia's bill. And I think the bill was $21,000, almost $22,000 for some of those improvements. You guys saved that money because the water service was contracted out, and we had joint agreements with Gastonia and some of the other municipalities. And most importantly, when we do come up with these contracts, I think as a board, we need to be smart. We need to work together as a team and make sure that you guys are getting a fair deal. Okay, it's you, the taxpayers, that need to make sure you get the fair deal out of all these contracted services.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm pro-police and pro-fire. So, yeah, I support a municipality agreement. I think that we've always helped out McCampbell in the police force. There's sometimes we'll help out Lowell. We'll go to Lowell to back up calls. But to get paid for those services for the police and fire, to pay Cramerton, as long as we're not going in the hole and as long as we're breaking even, I think that that's a community helping out another community, and I think it's a good idea.
I absolutely support municipal agreements. It's obvious because I've been on board the last 4 years, and that has been, one of the key things that we have worked on. We as municipalities, we are not islands unto ourselves. We have neighboring towns that need the same services we do. Their folks want high quality of service as well. They want lower prices. So what we've been able to do in the last 4 years, there was the regionalization of water and wastewater, which resulted, again, $400,000 annual savings to the folks here in town. We moved over $1.9 million. I've heard there's some question about transparency. There is no question about transparency. It was $1.9 million came from our enterprise fund that was part of the utility, came over into our, what we call unrestricted fund balance. All it is our savings account, $1.9 million. And we reduced our long-term debt that we were holding with a U.S. governmental agency of $5.5 million when Gastonia took it. That was a huge win for us. And for folks who haven't heard the numbers, McAdenville currently pays us $262,000 a year to provide them police and fire. And in exchange, what we also get out of that is because we're a little bit larger, we have better economies of scale, and the people of Cramerton actually receive even a higher quality of service than they would otherwise. So absolutely, regionalization is a great way to go, but we need to review it on an individual basis and make sure it's smart for everybody concerned.
As far as contracted services are concerned, if we're making them profitable, I could agree. The thing is, most people don't know what taking over the McAdenville Fire Department cost the town of Cramerton. We spent over $600,000 merging those two fire departments together. So how many years will it take to recoup that investment, or AKA expense? At the same time, you know, if we are covering our costs on the police and fire, I can be in agreement with it, but we must remember McAdenville Fire Department was losing its financing from Buska-Starpin within 3 to 4 months, so it was a blessing in disguise. They were looking for Cramerton, and Cramerton may have been looking for them. But when it comes back to the utilities, in June 2008, we had the largest tax increase in the history of Cramerton. They went up 12% on the water. They went up $10 per user on the water sewer availability fee, and they went up 5 cents on the base city tax rate from 42 to 47.5 cents. The money that we're being told was savings or accumulated was extra money that was accumulated in our account from 08 to 11, which was really nothing more than an overcharge on the water sewer availability fee and an additional charge on the nickel on the tax rate. So, you know, I can test a lot of this, but these additional money saved during that 3-year period was over $1.1 million that was used to finance the fire department in phase 1 of Goat Island. So here again, I'm all for, you know, what did we do? What did it cost? What is the end results? For every feature, there's a benefit, but I want to see the benefits and then what did the benefit cost?
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about expenses and budgets and efficiencies. What services, if any, could be eliminated to reduce the town's expenditures?
I've been waiting on that one. A few of the services that could be reduced. Okay. A few of the services that can be reduced are the planning department. We outsource planning for Southport Village. I think it costs about 10 or 12 grand. Here again, our recent planning manager did retire and he had done a good job, but all the land left, we could sub out doing the other thing if we do it down off Hamrick Drive, the villages. But we got a $100,000 budget for planning. I think we could do it on a lot less than that. We were paying a lot of dues to different organizations, whether it be App State or different things, a lot of meetings that the city manager is going to that I really don't see the results. We had some issues on checks and balances at Town Hall where we were missing a bunch of invoices back in December, and I know they 6 months later found the invoices, but we're being told that we're spending $7,000, $8,000 a month on the town credit card. That's something, as an accountant and as a former sales manager, I'd like to know what my salesman or my city manager's using all that money for a town of 4,200 people.
Thank you, Thurman. I think this is actually an easier one for me to answer. I'm not in favor of us reducing any services. What we've managed to do over the last 4 years is maintain the tax rate we're at. And let's talk about our tax rate. A lot of folks say we have a high tax rate. If you look in county, we are far from the highest. At 0.475, one thing people have to realize is in your tax bill, you're paying for solid waste. Waste management accounts for $212,000 of our annual budget. If we were to pass that along, as most municipalities do, as a service on your utility bill, that's $10 more out of your pocket every single month. So we need to talk about that when we talk about our tax rate. What we are going to continue to do, if you elect me, I will continue to do this, is let's find ways to continue to provide the quality of service we currently have. Let's enhance it without increasing cost. And that's what we're going to be successful in doing.
I was almost going to agree with you, Will.
We have questions.
I don't think there's any service in Cramerton that we need to get rid of. I think that we have some of the best people working for us, from the solid waste department, the police department, the fire department, just all the way around. I think they're upstanding guys and women also, and I don't think we should eliminate any of them. Although I'm going to disagree with Will, I think we probably could lower our taxes a little bit. I think we could probably crunch the budget somewhere to lower our taxes a little bit. I just think that we're high right now. They say that we're comparable to Belmont and Mount Holly. Well, we're not as big as Belmont. We're not as big as Mount Holly. Need to look at Lowell, McCampbell, Ranlow. McCampbell's not compared to us, but Lowell and Ranlow, they're compared to us. So I think we could probably lower the taxes a little bit and help out our citizens here. But service-wise, I think that we've got great services here in Cramerton. We shouldn't eliminate any of them.
Folks, think about this a little bit. If you had to cut some services, what would you cut? Trash, waste, waste collection, police, fire? What would you cut? We're going to put the trash out on the side of the street and hope somebody picks it up? And in comparison to our tax rate, some of the other towns, I think 8 out of the 12 in Gaston County charge you a license plate fee of $3 to $5 just to get a license plate for your car. Cramerton does not. Some of these towns charge extra for fire protection. Cramerton does not. I think our government, here in town government, has operated on a lean budget. We've seen an increase in the fund balance. We have over $3 million in the general fund. As a business owner, I understand the importance of keeping your costs low. And I understand as a town leader, it's going to be very important. I think if the time comes, it's something that as a board, we can sit down and talk with the town planner, town manager, town accountant, and look at the budget and see if we can decide on trimming somewhere. But right now, I think the government, our town government, has done a good job. Again, think about those services. What would you want to cut?
Thanks, Demetri. I've reviewed the town's budget, and I've been reviewing budgets my entire working career. 54% of our revenues go to pay salaries. It's 26 employees. So if you talk about cutting operating budget, you're talking about firing somebody. I think the important thing that we need to focus on is capital expenditures. We've got commitments as a town. You know, I drive all throughout Cramerton watching up for my campaign signs. And I was over at the Timberlake, and I noticed down in some of the bottom cul-de-sacs down there, those roads are looking really bad. Now, what do I know about roads? Well, I've served on the Cramer Mountain Board, homeowners board, and we're responsible for our roads. So every time I drive through Cramer Mountain, I'm looking at a storm drain or a crack in the pavement. So what I think that the focus needs to be on is having a good capital improvement budget plan that goes over a 5-year period. And let's focus on that every month when we review the operating budget. One of the things I learned from Charlie Boyd at the Finance Council out there at the church, if you don't keep your eye on the ball of the commitments that you've made to the congregation, you might have a little extra money and it's real easy for you to spend it on something that you hadn't planned for. You've got to look forward, you've got to plan ahead, and you need to cover your commitments. So that's what I'll focus on as your commissioner.
There's nothing I know I would cut. But then on the other hand, there may be something, if I'm elected, I could see behind the scenes that I don't know about now. And I'm sure there's always adjustments and could be made. It used to be a joke that they say that, that a town would spend $100 to save 10. And when you get looking at things, I'm sure there's some adjustments that can be made to save some money. But the services that we got now, I think, I wouldn't want to give up anything. And I think on the whole, they do a good job.
I've been looking over some of the questions that you've turned in, and some of them are being answered as we go through the format tonight. There's one here that sort of fits in with the discussion, so I'm going to go ahead and insert it into this discussion. And we've been talking about efficiencies and saving money and finding ways the creative ways that we've saved money for the town. So this question is, are you in favor of returning some of those dollars, some of those monies that you've saved, and giving it back to the taxpayer, perhaps in the form of some sort of tax relief? Just a quick 15-second response.
I think we have a fair tax rate right now. I think we'd all take it if somebody would say we could guarantee this rate for the next 20 years. I think we'd be tickled. I like the idea of a reserve fund because, the storm may come for us one day on something that we need that money. And I wouldn't want to sacrifice the